Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see from the title, this is going to be another dating horror story. Yeah, so I am trying something different with my lighting and my audio. So hopefully we're all good to go. But I won't waste any of your time. We'll just get right into it. So I was going to come to you guys with my base already done, but I couldn't because I'm so happy I found my blue beauty blender. I don't care what anyone says. I know all the beauty blenders are supposed to be exactly the same. They're not color coded for a certain thing, but the blue one and the black one are by far the best. I don't know what it is. Something about, I guess, the coloring or the dye or something, but they work the best. They're my favorite. So I was like, I'm not skipping doing my base because the star of the show is back. So today I'm going to be using my Tatcha silk canvas. I want to go ahead and use it because I baby not using it because I'm like, it's so expensive, but then I don't want it to go bad. So I don't know if you guys follow me on my Instagram. If not, you should be, where I posted a video just kind of asking, like, you know, should I get rid of some of this makeup? I want to say it was like close to midnight, and I was like doing some random cleaning, and I posted all of my palettes, not all of them, but the ones I was considering giving away, and asked for you guys to comment on which ones I should give away. And y'all were savage. Like, there were some of you that were like, don't give any away, but it was some of y'all like, sis, get rid of that, get rid of that. So ultimately, I'm getting rid of all of these palettes, all of these, and it's even like some little pots and stuff over here. So I just want to show you guys, I listened, these are all going away. I just have to figure out how to recycle it because I don't just want to put this in the trash can, but I'm not gonna like give it to Goodwill or something, so I need to figure that part out. So yeah, the primer is the Tatcha, and then I'm going to be using my MAC Studio Fix Fluid. It is NC47. I love this foundation. It has a horrible smell, but it's pretty decent. The color matching could be better. The undertone is a little bit off, but I want to make sure that I use it all up. So that's what we're gonna be doing, y'all. I'm trying to use up all of this stuff I have and get the colors and the foundations that work best for me. So enough about that, because I know what you came for. So this was several years ago. This was like when I was really young. I almost want to say I was still in college, but I was out and about, and this was around when I was just like looking to have fun. Like, nothing was really serious. Like, I know all of my dating stories start like that, but no, really, like, I was not looking to have anything serious. So the area that I lived in at the time is like a melting pot. Like, everyone in LA at some point passes through. I used to live in the city of Hawthorne at one point. And Hawthorne is a part of LA for people who are not familiar with California. It's in LA County. It's just like a sub area. But I mean, LA is LA. It's kind of hard to explain. But the thing about where I lived in Hawthorne is that it was close to Crenshaw, the infamous Crenshaw. And although it wasn't near the part of Crenshaw that everybody is familiar with, people would often kind of just migrate that way, that way, like going down that way. So you would always run into, on my street, people you hadn't seen in years, because there was a 7-Eleven. Now you guys are gonna know, anybody who is from California or from the area is gonna know exactly what street I lived on. But I don't live there anymore, so it doesn't matter. But there was a 7-Eleven at the corner, and everyone in LA basically went to this 7-Eleven. Why? Because that 7-Eleven was fully stocked with liquor, and they sold liquor after 2 a.m. I believe. I don't know. I never bought after 2 a.m. but they were still open. I'll say that. They were still open after 2 a.m. and in California, all liquor stores close at 2. So that 7-Eleven is 24 hours. And apparently it's one of the very few that are 24 hours that also sells liquor. So there are always people at that 7-Eleven any time of day. So if you were bored, essentially, you could just get up, run to 7-Eleven. You was gonna meet somebody. It was gonna be somebody there. That's just how it was. So my mom used to always send me, she didn't want to be bothered with that mess. So she used to always send me to the store because I was young and I always wanted to go out and go and do something. So she's like, hey, I might as well use it to my advantage and send you to the store whenever I need anything. So she would always send me to the store to get stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, I want to say like, it's a high number, like 75 to 85% of my dating stories come from people that I met at that location. Like, I mean, outside of like, you know, newer stories where I met them on dating apps, majority of the stories I have not told you guys are from meeting people at that location, but I digress. So I'm getting out of my car and this handsome, like light-skinned black guy with like hazel green eyes is in the store. So I'll go to the back, I'll get my stuff, and I notice, like, I just feel like somebody watching me the whole time I'm moving through the store. I just feel eyes on me. Now, I've always had confidence, but I've never been overconfident. Like, I never just assume that every single person that sees me or looks at me is looking at me because they are interested. Some people just stare. Like, I swear I am not making this up. If you have ever been out in public with me, people stare at me. I don't know what it is, but all my whole life I've had this issue of people just staring at me. And it won't necessarily be a bad thing. They just, it's like I can walk into a room and like a huge majority of the room will be staring at me. And I'm not saying that from a self-conscious aspect. Like, I've had friends with me and they'll be like, what in the world? Why do people stare at you everywhere you go? So when people stare, I'm just kind of used to it. Not to mention I have a really bad staring problem. Like I'm a people watcher, so I stare at people. So I can't even be mad if you staring at me because I see you looking at me because I've been staring at you. So I didn't pay any attention to it. I moved to the front to get my stuff, and he didn't say anything at first, and then I paid and he was like, have a good day. And I was like, you too. You know, I went on about my business. And right now I'm gonna use my new one because remember my old video I said it felt. So this is the new one. I'm gonna have to squeeze and pump my life away to get it to come up through the top. So I got outside and he asked me, he was like, you know, where are you headed? So I was like, oh, okay, you was interested. And I'm like, I'm going home. And he was like, oh, so you a good girl, you going home, you're not about to be out here. I was like, no, I have class, I'm not gonna be out here. And he was like, oh, okay, well, you stay safe and you make sure you have a good night. So I'm like, no, he did not talk to me after stopping me. But then he stopped me and he was like, you got a boyfriend? And I was like, no. And he was like, oh, okay. He was like, can I get your phone number? And I used to have this line, y'all. I used to be like, no, but you can give me yours. Right? So he was like, oh, okay, I'll give you my number or whatever. So he did. He gave me his phone number. And the reason why he used to do that was because I didn't always know if I wanted to talk to somebody. Regardless of what they looked like, regardless of how the interaction would be, like, I didn't always know if I wanted you having my phone number and access to calling me. It was something I needed to simmer with and think about. So I called my homegirl and I told her, I was like, girl, I just met this fine dude at 7-Eleven. I was like, You know, he's about my age. Fun fact about me, I do not date guys my age. I like older guys. So I was like, he's about my age. I said, so I don't know. You know, I don't really like young guys like that. I was like, but he's so cute and he was so polite and he seemed so together. So she was like, well, just call him and just see, you know? So I called him and, you know, we talked. Everything was lovey-dovey, lottie-dottie, good to go. So he passed all the tests or whatever, and we decided to go out. So the first time that we went out, we went to the Cheesecake Factory. We had a good time. It was nice. You know, he was telling me about himself, that only family he really had out here was his cousin and his cousin's like mom and sister. And, you know, that he was just really focused on working, building his money, getting his money together. I was like, okay, you know, I didn't dig too much into, you know, what he did for a living or, you know, his hopes, dreams, or aspirations. I ain't gonna lie to y'all, back then it was just like, okay, who got this free meal? Who got this free meal in this date? I was like young and priorities. My priorities were together because I was in college, but they wasn't the best priorities, y'all. I ain't gonna even front. So, he lived nearby. I don't know exactly where he lived because I never went to his house. He never went to my house. I always met him somewhere nearby. So, you know, he would just be like, hey, what are you doing? Can you come outside real quick? And we would just like sit and we would chill and we would talk. So this one particular day, we're sitting in his car. We're sitting in his car. And it's probably like about maybe 9 o'clock at night. And we're just talking or whatever. And he's like, well, you want to, his cousin kept calling him. I was like, man, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm chilling with my girl. I was like, but see, now in my dating horror stories, I'm telling you that's a red flag. Back then when I was younger, I was like, okay, this is cute. So he's like, I'm chilling with my girl. And the guy was like, oh, he was like, well, I'm trying to do that real quick. He was like, why don't you just come over here with her and then we could finish up and then you could just leave, right? So he's like, all right. He was like, yeah. He was like, that's cool. That's what we'll do. And I'm thinking to myself, what I ain't finna do is go to your cousin's house. Because even when I was younger, I still didn't play that whole, you know, I was still getting in the car. I still did not drive sometimes. As you can see, I was in his car. But I still was very reluctant on where we went. So he's like, do you want to go to my cousin's house? I'm like, not really. I'm like, you know, it's cool. Just go handle whatever business you need to handle. And then we'll meet back up. He's like, no. He's like, I really want you just to go with me to my cousin's house. He's like, that way I know as soon as we done, like, I can leave. And I'm just like, I don't want to go to your cousin's house. And before I could just flat out say, like, I ain't trying to go to your cousin's house, he was like, nah, that's probably not best that you go to my cousin's house because if he look at you the wrong way, or I feel like he looking at you, then it's gonna be a problem. And so I laughed because you know how like when guys is trying to pump your head up, they say little cute stuff like that, like you just the finest thing walking, and you just be like, right? So that's how I took it. But after I laughed, I looked over at him and he was really like he had kind of spaced out into that thought, like, yeah, nah. And I was like, okay, that's weird. It was so weird. I got like this chill through my whole body and I'm like, okay, he's serious. I can't explain it to you guys, but it was just like the whole mood changed and I just instantly knew like, okay, homeboy is kind of crazy, but it was kind of cute. Like, okay, he's fine and he's crazy. Okay, I just know how I have to play my cards, right? So we kept talking and then he starts going into details about, you know, how jealous he is, and you know how overprotective he is. And I had kind of seen it before, because it was one time, like I said, my mom used to always send me to the store, where she sent me to the store to get something for her, and I ran back out, and I got a phone call, and it was him, and he was like, what are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, why are you at the store this late? And I'm looking around, I don't see him anywhere. I'm like, I ran into the store, my mom wanted something. He's like, don't do that. He's like, in the future, if your mom wants something from the store, you need to just tell me what it is and I'll grab it. He's like, but it'd be too much going on at this store. It's too much going on over here, period, for you just to be, you know, hopping out the car that late. So I thought that was like cute, ignoring the fact that, how did you see me? You know, I never asked, like, how did you see me? So anyways, that was before this incident that I'm talking about now. And I just kind of ignored that red flag. So we're sitting in the car and we're talking, and I'm kind of piecing together that and piecing together what he's telling me. And I'm like, okay, he is kind of crazy. A lot of crazy. So I said, you know what? I have a homegirl who I could count on rain, sleet, or snow to get me out of a situation with little to no words. Like my homegirl Relena, if I sent her a message, it don't matter how cryptic it was, it don't matter how much detail was left out, she always got it like that. Like, I mean, she was quick. So I text her, and she didn't even know I was out with him or anything, and I said, your car broke down. That's all I sent her. Bam, 2 seconds later, she calls me. She's like, oh my gosh, my car broke down. She's like, I need you to come and help me. So I'm like, oh dang, where are you at? So she's like, yeah, girl, whatever, right? Because he can't hear everything. So I say, I'll come. I hang up. He cranks up the car. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, yo, friend. He's like, you said you'll come. I was like, oh, no. I was like, her car broke down. I have to go help her. He's like, well, what are you going to do? He was like, she don't have AAA? I said, no, she doesn't, but I do. And you have to be present, you know, when they render service. Fun fact, guys, I used to work there, so I knew the tea. I actually worked there at the time. Did I work there at the time? Yeah, I worked there at the time. So he's like, all right, well then we'll go over there. And I'm like, no, she's at her mom's. She doesn't like people to know where her mom stays. So I'm just gonna go meet the tow truck driver, and then I'll call you when I'm done. So he pauses and he looks at me and he goes, it's after 9 o'clock at night. You're not about to go meet some tow truck driver and no girl on some street that I don't know. That's not happening. So either your homegirl can call somebody else to help her, or we can go right now and we can help her. I was like, oh, so you're a lot of crazy. Oh, you're a lot of crazy. Okay, so I remember I was like, okay, so this is not gonna work. So I text her, abort. That's all I texted her was abort. So then she immediately calls me back and she's like, hey, never mind. My mom and dad are gonna help me out. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, girl, cool. Because there was no way to fake pulling up to her house. There was no way to fake all of that. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, no, she don't need no help, so we fine. So he's like, oh, okay, cool. I'm thinking to myself, now what? Like, now how am I finna get out of this situation? So I think quick on my feet. I hit the side of my phone, like the ringer, and make it ring. And I answer, and I'm like, hello, pretending, right? And I'm like, huh? Oh, okay. I'm like, you know what? It's my mom. I'm like, she needs me to get her something from the store. And he's like, oh, okay, let's go. Like, so helpful, so willing. I'm like, no, I don't have any money. He's like, what? You don't have no money? You can't be running around here with no money. So he starts going in. I'm like, no. I'm not broke. I'm saying, like, my money is not with me. And he's like, oh, well, I'll get it. And I'm like, no, because I need to go to the ATM anyways. I said, so I need to go home. I need to get her money. I need to get my card, go to the store. I'm like, And he's like, it's late. You don't need to be going to the ATM. I was like, I'm going to the ATM in 7-Eleven. You'll be able to see me. I'm like, and then we'll meet up. I said, go handle the business with your cousin while I go take care of what my mom need. And then I'll call you when I'm done. So that was logical to him. Like, okay, I don't want to take her to my cousin's. She got to do something. I'm going to go run and do this for my cousin. So for him, he was like, okay, this works out. So I am so relieved that he accepted that as a valid reason. And we went back to where my car was parked. I got in my car and I went home. So I decided at that point, like, I'm finna just take it as a loss of the game. Like, even though he cute, like, I'm not trying to deal with all that craziness and having to come up with excuses just to live my life. Like, no. So I stopped answering his phone calls. I stopped responding to his text messages. I stopped going to like 7-Eleven. Like, if my mom needed to go to the store, I just went all the way over to like the nearest grocery store, which actually wasn't that far. And I just, I didn't find myself in any predicaments where I thought I could run into him. And I'm thinking to myself, over time, he's just gonna be like, okay, this girl ghosted me, and he's gonna move on. It ain't that deep. That's what my plan was. That's how immature I was at that point. So my friend who was with me in the dating horror story with the movie theater with the struggle buttons, she calls me and she's like, hey, I'm gonna come over and we can go to Fox Hills Mall. Fox Hills Mall from Hawthorne is several cities over, but it's not that far. LA is weird. So you can get to Fox Hills Mall from Hawthorne in like 20 minutes, but it's legit like, 4-5 cities over. But I mean, that's just how LA and the freeway system is built. So she's like, you want to go to Fox Hills Mall? I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go to Fox Hills Mall. So I get dressed and she comes over. The minute she gets to my house, my phone starts blowing up, and it's him. I almost said his name, and I'm not that comfortable doing so just yet. So he's calling, and she's like, dang, who's calling you? And I'm like, him. And she's like, I need to meet this guy. Like, I need to meet the guy that's just like on it like this. And I'm like, girl, no, I don't think that's ever gonna happen. You meeting him, like, that's a done deal. So she's like, I would have liked to meet him. I mean, y'all was hanging out for a second. Like, you seemed like you really liked him. And I was just like, I'll tell you the whole get down in the car. So as soon as I get in the car, the way my house was back set, you could not see anything going on in my house from the street. You could only see people enter into my driveway. That was it. So we get in the car and I'm starting to tell her the story, and my phone rings and it's him. And she's like, girl, you need to just answer. She's like, because I'm not trying to hear that the whole time that we out. And I'm like, that's true. I can ignore it, but I ain't gonna make. Okay, guys, I apologize. I don't know what happened to the audio on the last part of the video, but here I'm basically just showing you that I finished up my eyes. I used the Juvia's Place palette using the brown color for a transition color. I used the orange color for a lid color. Then I topped it with a little bit of the goldish rust color at the bottom. Then I put on some lashes. These are from Hot Girl Goods. Again, I'll have that information linked below on where you can get those. It can save you some money, 10% off. I'm just showing you here that the lashes are really, really light. They feel very comfortable. The band is not restrictive, so I'm able to kind of apply them easily, and I don't feel them or see them, so that's always a win-win for me. I just finished out with a little eyeliner on the wing, and that was it. Just to kind of wrap up the story, as we pulled out the driveway, he calls me. I'm like, let me answer, because it's kind of rude for me to make her listen to this ringing the whole time. I answer, and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm at Fox Hills Mall. And my friend goes, dang, who was that fine dude over there? And he's like, huh? Because he can hear her. I look up to look in the direction that she's looking, and it's him. So I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I slink down, I slide down, and she's looking at me like, why? She like stops the car to try to figure out why I'm slouched down, but she stopped like right in front of him, but she has really dark tint. So I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I'm trying to whisper like, go, 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 go. So she finally gets it, and then we get a little ways down, and then she's like mousing me like, is that him? And I'm like, yes, that's him. So he's like, oh, I think I just saw your homegirl. Keep in mind they never met. So I'm like, how does he know what kind of car she drives? Like, that's kind of creepy. So he basically he's like, okay, we need to talk. You haven't been answering your phone. Where have you been? Blah, blah, blah. So I don't hear from him for like 2 weeks, okay? Don't hear from him. Then randomly one day, I'm like at 7-Eleven like 2 weeks later, and this guy walks up to me, and he's like, hey, are you Dion's girl? And I'm like, well, now's not the time for labels, but, you know, whatever. I'm like, who's asking? And he's like, well, he told me to come over here and just let you know he didn't want you to be mad, but he's in jail. He's like, and it's been real hot. I ain't been able to come over here and tell you, and I probably won't be able to come back over here, but here's his information. He don't really have no family that he can trust over here. So that led me to believe that basically the reason why he always saw me on the street is because he had a profession that requires you to be on the street all the time. I don't know why he went to jail. I don't know what the circumstances were, but I was happy and relieved to know that that was my out. So I bought up that information, I threw it away, and that was it, guys. That was it. Crazy. But I do want to say, if I was able to salvage the audio, like I said, I'm editing right now. This eye look was the Juvia's Place palette. I should have shown you the colors that I used. It was like an orange color, the brown color, and then I topped it with the gold. My lips are this blue color by Kat Von D Liquid Lip. So yeah, I'm sorry guys. I mean, like I said, I was trying something new with my audio, and I guess my setup did not like it. So that's all I have for you guys today. Make sure you click above to check out my other dating horror stories. And comment below and tell me what you think about this story, despite the missing audio. But make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you are not subscribed already. I love you. Mean it. Bye.